But here's the irony of Katie and so many people I have the privilege of working with. When she stopped dwelling on the numbers, she stopped dwelling on sales, she stopped dwelling on her customers, she stopped dwelling on profit, and all she did is what I call doing the right thing for the right reasons. She served people well, she served her members well, and if you were to ask her members, and I know a lot of her members, and they just can't stop talking about Katie because she loves them so well, and her team does as well. But when Katie stopped dwelling on these superficial measures and started focusing on what really mattered to her, all of a sudden, the numbers actually started happening because she poured in her energy to the right things. The financial piece was the byproduct of it. When she stopped going for the money and she did the right things, oddly, the money kind of materialized over here. And I can report, and I'm not breaking confidentiality, it's going really well. It's a beautiful thing to watch that Katie's living her version of success. And that's exactly what it is. It's her version of success. And so as I'm talking, some of you hopefully have some ideas of what is success to you? Like, what do you really want? And maybe you're thinking about the Spice Girls song, what do you really want? And I keep having people like send me the gifs and the memes of that, and then they give me the real answer. But what do you really want? And as you're thinking about it, write that down. Don't let that go. In the moment, don't let it go. Even if it's a fleeting thought, just write it down. You'll process it later. But I think if we can get it out of our head and onto paper, we can look at it and recognize it for what it is or isn't. And if one of the things that comes to mind is a financial thing, if I really want to get out of debt, or I really want to make $100,000 a year, go deeper. We need to go deeper. No. What do you really want? Start getting a little bit deeper in there. And maybe some food for thought as you're thinking about, and I hope that as I talk, I'm not asking you to drown me out, but maybe think about your own journey along the way today. But some food for thought. For my job, I walk alongside of families and businesses, and I help them align their money with their purpose. And I work with people from all walks of life. I work with teachers and business owners, executives, hairstylists. I work with NFL players and doctors and just all different people that are all trying to battle their own journey. They're all trying to connect their finances with their purpose. I have a daily blog 7 days a week. I have a podcast called Meaning Over Money. So needless to say, I think about and talk about this idea of money a lot. And so with that context, what I'm about to say might sound a little silly, maybe a bit ironic, but I think we grossly overestimate the importance of money in our life. And this is somebody who talks about money all the time. I think we grossly overestimate the importance of it in our life. And our culture tells us that more is better. More money, more stuff, more status, it's better. And here's the problem with more. Every time we get more is still, well, it's more. And it's kind of like when you're a kid and you have a hamster, the 2 weeks between the time you bring him home from the store and then the dog gets him, that 2 weeks, you watch the hamster, he gets on the wheel and he starts running and he's going faster and faster and faster and he's flying around this wheel, but yet he's not really going anywhere. That's us in the pursuit of more. And I've always been fascinated by behavioral science. The study of why we do the crazy things we do as humans. And they've been trying to answer this age-old question for decades, maybe centuries. Does money make us happy? And here's what they've found. They've put so much money into this. Here's what they found. Money makes us really happy. This is my dramatic pause. Until our needs are met. They found that money makes us really happy until our needs are met. And if you think about it, this makes sense. If you don't have water, if you can't feed your family, if you don't have heat in the winter, that's tough. That is tough. And so if you make a little bit more and all of a sudden you have heat, you are probably going to be happier. That's probably going to happen. And so what they found is that as you make more money, your happiness goes up pretty quick. But then the next part, until your needs are met. And what they found is that once your needs are met, that happiness, it really tapers off. It goes up a little bit, but it really flatlines. But here's the problem. Psychologically, we have a problem as humans. We're frail beings. And what happens is, and you probably can relate to this, when you were young, maybe a poor college kid, maybe early in your career, and you're just trying to make it. You're just trying to figure out, how do I make ends meet? I want more than this poor college life I've been living. And so as you make more money, you get happier. And then as you make a little bit more money, you get happier. And what we do is we think to ourselves, if this line felt like this line will continue into perpetuity. We'll just keep making more money and we'll get happier. But eventually our needs are met and we have a decent lifestyle and we're okay. And we can go out to dinner, we can go on some trips, we can save for retirement. But then the line starts to flatten. And that's the part where we fall into the trap of more. And so that's a piece that we really need to reckon with ourselves. And we're all human, so I think we all face it to some extent. And I talk about this every day for a living, and I feel it. I feel it deeply, often. And I have to constantly remind myself. There's also a concept called the hedonic treadmill. And the hedonic treadmill is really this idea that if something happens to us in our life, whether it's good, whether it's bad, that becomes the new normal. And they wanted to study this. And so they just said, okay, they thought, well, let's take two opposite groups of people. One, we're going to take people who win the lottery. And I'm not talking the scratch-offs. I'm talking about the ones who get to stand up there with the big cardboard checks. They studied those people. And they thought, okay, who else do we study? Let's study people who got into car accidents and became paralyzed. So pretty opposite. And what they found was that the people who won the lottery were really happy. And the people who became paralyzed, they were really unhappy. It's the most Captain Obvious thing you'll hear all day. But they came back 6 months later. And the people who won the lottery, their happiness was back down to where it started. And the people who became paralyzed, their happiness was back up to where it started. That's the hedonic treadmill. That every time our life changes. Now, a lot of us probably aren't going to win the lottery, and hopefully none of us have the accident. But we have our own version. They're called promotions. They're called bonuses. They're called big commissions. They're called new clients. They're called that new car. They're called that dream house. And I don't know about you, but when you get that new car, it's amazing. You have that euphoric feeling, and then next week it's just my car. So many things. I remember I had promotions like that in my career where I'm like, oh my gosh, my life's going to be so much different. And then a week later, I'm still me.